Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello. Nello. How's it going? Happy Wednesday. I wanted to lean down, but I was like, oh, I can see myself down here. Hi, Nancy. Hey, Sue. Hey, Margaret and Miranda. How are you all? How was your weekend? Hey, Anna. I mean, it's been like over a week since I've seen you guys, right? That's so weird. I still miss like streaming every week, but at the same time, I get so much done in that week. It's so good. It's so good. That's what makes up for it. and I create a lot of videos during the week, but they're for other projects. So hi Heidi. Hi Terry. How's it going? It was hard for me to say Heidi, wasn't it? Hi Heidi. I was reading H. Crow's name. I was like, I said hi to Hannah, and it was like a lot of H's there. Hey, Teresa, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. What have you guys been working on? The last week was our the heat wave, the West Coast heat dome, and it was really hot. It was very, very hot here, but my area came out unscathed with fires. I mean, there were a few, but not like some of the big ones in the state. And that was great. Like, that's all I wanted. And now it's really cool. Like, it's like half the temperature. It's crazy. And it feels like fall, just like boom, like a few days ago, it just hit, and it's awesome. Like, yesterday was just immaculate, like 80 degrees outside. It was awesome. So, SoCal hurricane ruined. Oh no. There was a hurricane in Southern California. I missed that. Hello, Barb. Welcome. Glad you're here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does seem like that's hit the UK pretty hard. So I'm going to wait a little bit before we get going, just for people to get here, if they can. I know it's a work day for a lot of people. I'm sorry. So undresses for Dress a Girl Around the World. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I've seen that. That's a little different than, what's it called? Project Dress a Girl? Is that what it's called? Project Dress? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry. Hi, how's it going? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay, Miranda. That makes sense. I was, it's funny because this morning I was like, okay, so where did the heat dome come from? Where does this big bubble of heat just kind of like, you can see it happening, you can see it, they know it's happening, they know where it's going, and then it's just there. weather is so amazing. It's just so scientifically hard for me to understand. I really appreciate the people that learn all about it. So it's Project Dress to Go Around the World. Okay, cool. That's awesome. That sounds awesome. All right, so this week I am making a pattern from a company I've never sewn a pattern from before. Hearts Fabric, which is a fabric store. They got everything here in California in Santa Cruz. They sent us this project, and when they do this, they send me all the supplies to make the project. I make it in whatever size they want, and then I send it back to them, and it lives at their shop. I don't get to keep it or anything. I usually get to keep the pattern. So far, I think there's only been one pattern I had to return, which is really nice. It's not a requirement though. My only requirement is that I don't have to trace the pattern or print it. Like it has to be ready to cut. That's my rule. Hi Anna, hey Martina, how's it going? So the pattern is going to be the V-neck coat, which I think this picture doesn't really show what the heck's happening there. They're really cool pattern covers, but you know, it's really hard to see what's going on. But right here on the instructions, which is a huge book, by the way, this whole thing is huge. Look at this thing. It's bigger. This is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and it's bigger than that. So there's the line drawing, which the first thing I look at with any pattern is the line drawing. It's the most important thing for me because I don't understand what's going on by looking at that. This just gives you the vibe, you know, and the mood of it. So this is the pattern. This is an I'm making the unlined version, but there is a lining pattern included that you can do. This is going to be a pretty casual jacket because they sent me a flannel. Just looks like a standard flannel, a really nice quality flannel, I have to say. But, you know, I think because there's no lining, it'll be probably a little clingy, but it'll be really cozy and kind of soft to throw on, you know, so. Hey, Sydney, how's it going? Sydney, you have a lot of things going on. All right, all the measurements are in metric. This, I can't remember where this pattern company is from. Oh, I think it's Sweden. I think there's a Swedish pattern company. So they've requested that I make size medium. I imagine that will fit me. I didn't do the conversions for the, sorry, I was about to, and I was like, oh, there they are. They have it in inches. They have the measurements like 3 places, but none of them are in imperial, and which is totally fine by me. And I was going to convert one of them, and then I glanced at this and I thought this was it, and it's not. So I didn't do that. I didn't convert it for myself. A lot of people don't need the conversion. So I'll just tell you the chest goes from 97 centimeters to 121 centimeters. There's only 4 sizes. I don't know if online this company has more sizes in their patterns. This is from Hearts Fabric, so they sent me the whole thing, right? So, and then the seat, as they call the hip, goes from 116 centimeters to 140 centimeters. So, and it is a long coat. I imagine you can make it shorter. There's also a belt, not shown here, but shown here in this one. If you look at the photos of this on their Instagram, it's a really like sharp looking coat, and it hangs kind of like just not close to the body. It's kind of loose, but in a nice A-line. So, and it's called the V-neck coat. All right. So here's the things. I'm going to tell you about this in a second. You've never made an assembly line pattern, but they seem, yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too, Miranda. The directions look pretty good so far too. Yeah, I bet you're wiped out. You just want to announce that you actually managed to make a t-shirt that you will wear. Knits been. Yeah, it looks really good, Nancy. Good job. I know you had trouble cutting it out. And that's just how knits are. Knits are just a pain to cut out. They're a pain for me to cut out too. I don't enjoy cutting knits out at all. Just so y'all know. There's a few knits I don't mind cutting out. But most of them are, yeah, they're just a pain in the butt. All right, so this is the flannel. So this is, let me tell you, I actually have the number on this. They have this flannel in a lot of colors. This is the flannel twill in wine. It's 57 inches wide, 100% cotton. And then the number, like if you wanted to go to their website, the item number is 103127. And they also sent a covered button kit. I've never done covered buttons on the channel, so we're going to do these. And they also gave me regular buttons, so we can take our pick. Isn't that nice? They were just thinking it would be kind of fun for us to see covered buttons. I have not done these since I was a sewing baby. Let's just put it that way. These were really popular when I was younger and learning to sew. Like covered buttons were like the option. So this is very dated, but they're such a fun thing because then you can use the fabric of your project to make buttons that match perfectly, right? So I feel like you only see things in thrift shops that have covered buttons now. Hey, Amanda, how's it going? Yeah, there you go, Aisha. Yeah. A coat, yeah. It's just a flannel. It's a straight up flannel you would make a button down with. Your fear of cutting was way overblown. Once you started, guys, yeah. You know, and that's the thing, Nancy. That's why I said at one point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and cut it out, because it's just one of those things. And I feel like if you cut out the pieces individually, it's going to be more accurate. And as long as your fabric is relaxed on the table, like this table, mine's pretty smooth, even though it's got a lot of texture from using the rotary knife on it. It doesn't snag like one of my old tables would. And as long as your knit is kind of relaxed on there, it's going to be fine, right? And if you're cutting 2 layers, then I guarantee you those 2 pieces you cut out are not identical to one another. But the thing is, it's knit. So it's pretty forgiving, you know? So yeah. Yeah, back in the day. A little covered button kit. These are big. They're almost like an inch. Look at my thumb next to it. This is my one finger and hand that doesn't have, like, man, you guys, I am just like, good thing I'm not I would have never become a hand model. Well, let me tell you. Right now I have poison oak again. No idea where I'm getting it from, but it's getting worse and worse, and it's something in my life infecting me. The whole thing of like poison oak, you can't get poison oak from a surface, is so wrong. There may not be science to back it, but my life, and many people I've known, they get it from things, not the plant. And I'm saying I probably did come in contact with it, but it was days later that I started getting it. So, all right, this is a woven fusible interfacing that they also included for the project, and hearts. And I'm not like, if you've seen my recent Instagram post about my struggle with this stuff, I haven't had struggles with theirs. So I don't know where they get theirs. I don't know. It probably is the same stuff that I complained about in my post. But theirs may be untainted. I don't know what mine was. And I just follow the instructions of what they give me. So Stone Age is a really good, accurate thing. Maybe we can bring them back, right, Sue? Nancy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right, Sydney? I know. They don't live with poison oak in their life. And I was never allergic to it. The thing is, you have to be allergic to it to get it. I do believe that, but I was never allergic to it until the last couple of years. Because you can develop an allergy to it pretty easily. That's what I think, Jan. And hello. I think that one of them had it, and I had just like cleaned all the bedding on our bed, like everything, and re-put it on there, and then that's when I got infected. And so I was like, well, my sheets are probably pretty good. I can tell because I'm getting it like here, here, so it's probably my sheet. Like I probably put my hands out. That's what made me go, oh, it's my duvet cover. It's my duvet cover. So I washed that yesterday. I've got it like on my upper legs now, and then on my hands. And I'm getting it symmetrically. So. Yeah, it's the oil, exactly. Yeah. I washed everything. I just didn't wash the duvet cover because I thought, oh, my sheets are what I'm coming in contact with. And then when I had it here, I was like, that's my duvet cover. Yeah, me too, Teresa. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, and I think like that whole agave incident of whatever that was, 2019 or 2020, the agave incident, that has made me really susceptible. So anyway, so I'm really sorry I don't have pretty hands. It's a weed, yeah, and it's native here. And well, there's a lot of things like that. Like poison oak is a West Coast thing. Poison ivy is in Colorado. Like that was there. So we have poison oak, they have poison ivy. So different places. I used to be able to just walk through it, no problem. Other people look at it and they get it.
So yeah, and it's just kind of an angry rash. It's very itchy.
But you know what the best thing about what poison oak is? It feels so good to itch it,
but you shouldn't itch it.
It's just like the sensation of scratching it is so good, you know? And it's kind of crazy. All right, so here's this
flannel. Look at this. Okay, so you see,
can you see? I'm showing you in the, here, I'll show you my face camera too. It's kind of a wine color, but can you see that it's got kind of a two-tone color to it? So look at this. You see how the selvage has the red threads right here? But right here along the cut edge, can you see there's black threads? So this was woven with a different warp and weft to kind of give it that two-tone color way, which is kind of cool. Hey Terry, how's it going? Yeah, right, Aisha? Exactly. Yeah, right? I think that's it, Nancy. I think it's just general exposure, you know? And I was really careful. Like I have a Blanca flight suit that I made. You guys all know that epic stream where I made the Blanca flight suit. And that is my garden coveralls. They have like,
if you're new here, my yard is a little bit
pokey.
There's cactus and things. And then there's poison oak and other things like that. So I put cordura, which is like a really, it's just a nice strong fabric to protect myself with. I put it in the underneath the fabric in the arms so that I can be out in the yard and at least if something starts poking me, I get a warning, right? I was wearing that head to toe. It was so hot. I was wearing that head to toe. I know not to touch myself, you know, like my face or anything. I'm really careful. We have in our shower is the poison oak treatment. When you walk on the door of our house, there is a box that is a dispenser of individual
poison oak or ivy wipes, which we didn't know you could get.
We just wanted something, and then my husband stumbled upon like individual packages.
It's awesome. So you can walk in the door if you know you walked through it or something and just wipe yourself down really quick or your shoes or whatever. I was careful, but I feel like something touched something. So anyway. Nah, I don't know, Nancy. That's a good question. Yeah, exactly. My husband's super, super sensitive. I never had it. I had it one time, and I got it from him, and he had such a bad case that he had to go to the doctor, and he was out of town. I never went where he went. We didn't live with poison oak in our yard. He had gone on a bike ride or a hike out in the forest, and this was actually poison ivy, not poison oak. Poison ivy's on the coast, I think. I could be wrong about that. And 2 days after he left town, I got it from his side of the bed on my shin. Yeah. I do that, but I don't want to infect my loofah. But it feels so good. My favorite poison ivy or poison oak wash, whatever you want to call it, has the stuff in it to be scratchy, like a scrub. What do you call that? Like a scrub, right? Yeah. So. All right. Okay. So before I get going, just so I can get this stuff off my table here, I wanted to tell you about a new skill building session that I just launched in my community So-So Guild. And I actually have it pulled up here just in case there wasn't a mod here. I have to pull up an incognito tab to actually make this work. Isn't that funny? I have to hide from my own guild. But here it is. It's going to be available on my website if you have no interest in joining my community. I am like, that does not offend me at all. This is a standalone skill building session on putting in pant closures, specifically a zipper fly, a button fly, and a lapped zipper. And I give you 2 versions of the zipper fly. And so the button fly, basically, it's a hidden placket button fly like this. So the buttons, this is the buttonholes, this is the buttons. This is my sample from the sewing video. And let's see, this is the regular zipper fly. So my zipper fly method hides the zipper way deep in there. See that? Look at how much how deep it is in there. Right? So when you're wearing these pants, the zipper doesn't show. But I also give you the way to sew it if your zipper fly is separate. Like when you, like say you're right now making a pair of jeans and you've cut out all your pieces, but the zipper fly piece, the little curved piece, is a separate piece. It's not built onto the pant. That's not my favorite way to have a zipper fly, because the zipper sits really, really close to this edge here. You see how close that is? So this is brass. You know, when you're walking around, you can kind of get a glint of metal you see on someone's fly. That's just something I'm not a big fan of. I don't like people looking right there. But I still give you sewing instructions on this, and I give you lots of tips on how to get this as deep in here as possible and what makes that happen. So I finally cracked the code. It's not like it was a code, but people have been asking me for this for months and months, probably almost a year, on why that happens between these two, how to prevent it, what to do if your pattern is like that, and how to change it. And that is covered in this. You get pattern pieces to make all these, and I teach you how to draft it, and they're very concise. I give you lots of context. That's my new word, context, so that you understand why you're doing what you're doing. The lapped zipper would be like a zipper like this, you know, like this is kind of like a classic sewing thing, right? So this would be like a pant on a side seam. And then usually there'd be a waistband to finish it off. And I make this so easy. This is like the easiest thing in the world to sew. And I give you nice little tips on how to not get that jog like this. A lot of them I see have this jog right here. Not in mine. All right. So that is available on my guild, and it'll be on my website separately on a standalone thing. But if you join the guild and do it, there's a Zoom session later in the month where there's 2 times for people around the world. It's 10 a.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Pacific. And it's just an open workshop. So you can ask me questions. You can practice these before that and then go, I can't get this one spot. Can you show me that? What am I doing wrong here? What am I missing? And we can do it together. I can demonstrate sewing them. I can help you retrofit your pants, whatever. It's very open. So, yeah, and then I have lots of these. I tell you, like, why finishing the lapped zipper with a facing is kind of a challenge. You'll see them finish with the facing, but it's not my favorite way, and that a waistband is better. So, yeah, and then here, look, here's some of my pants I've sewn. This is the Morgan jeans with the button fly. I know they don't look like Morgan jeans, but this is the Morgan jeans with the button fly, and it's a hidden placket style, so you don't see the buttons on the outside. This is the Ash jeans. You probably can't really see. I blow out the video a little more so you can see. This is the kind with the seam right here. So you can see this zipper. Look at it. It's like, it doesn't even cover it. Look at that. You can see it right there, right? I don't know if you can see it. But, and that's because this is a stretch woven, so it's just not ideal. And then these are ginger jeans, which have the really deep style. So anyway, that's all available now. It's $25. Unless you become a journeyist or a master group member, then it's included. All the skill building sessions are. So I just wanted to promote myself because I'm trying to be better about that. So, all right. Not that I'm trying to take away from Hearts Fabrics sponsored stream. You know, Nancy, you can just join in and not talk or have your video on. A lot of people do that. And you can, there's a chat window and you can type in the chat. It would be just like this, except that you would see faces of all these people. That's all the difference would be. And we'd love to have you, but no worries. Yeah, Aisha. Yeah, it's so funny, Aisha.
I just got a comment on my how to sew a zipper fly video on my YouTube channel from Libby. And she was like, wait a minute.
This method's great.
Because I keep meaning to try her method too. You binge watched exfoliant, thank you. You binge watched all 7 videos? Okay, good. I was trying to see. Hey, Libby, how's it going? I speak of the angel.
I was trying to see, like, okay, did everybody see the content dropped? Because nobody said anything.
And I wanted to test out the notification, and then I could see the reviews, a couple views. So,
yeah, thank you, Terry. It was. Here, I'll just flip it like this. If I do this, it moves around, and my necklace kind of hits it. Thank you, Nancy. I'm actually like feeling like I have a plan right now. I redesigned my website a few weeks ago all by myself. Yeah, I want to try yours too, Libby. I've got it down. You did see it? Okay, good. Thanks, Yolanda. Yeah, I kind of figured people were seeing it. But yeah, I feel good. Like my website, I finally like streamlined it. I finally connected something to my YouTube channel. You'll start seeing like a little product shelf under. So after this video, I could link to that skill building session under it there so people could kind of look at it and see, you know. And then we have the guild. And the guild, like, this has been like a since January experiment with the guild, and everyone's been giving me lots of really great feedback during some of our workshops on like what we like, what we don't like, what's just too much, what's not enough. And so I think by January, we're going to have a pretty good like frame for the guild. And it's primarily a community. That's at the end of the day, it's a free community for sewing that, and it'll stay free. And then the skill building sessions won't be available anymore as part of groups, except everybody who's already gotten them. They'll just be standalone things. So it's going to be it's going to be a little more streamlined, which I'm looking forward to. Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, so I've got my flannel here. I already folded. Here's one of my tips for folding fabric. So this is what I do before the stream every time. This is kind of dark, but do you see how I fold this? It's an accordion style like this. This is one of my tips. When you're folding, when you're going to cut something out, especially if you don't have a lot of space, take the time to get your fabric on grain and accordion fold it like this, because this way when you pull up each layer of fabric, it'll just draw off your pile and you don't have to lift up the whole stack of fabric. Doesn't it like, is my face and the hearts thing gigantic? It looks gigantic. Is it taking up too much room here? It's hard to tell. Hey Shasha, how's it going? Okay. These pattern pieces are really big. So I'm going to unfold this fabric, and I'm actually going to take it off the table at the very end there. Move you over here. You guys, I cannot find my little pin cushion that sits over here. It's a very small studio. I don't know where it is. Okay. Let's get this on here. All right, so it's an unlined coat. I can feel a wrinkle over here, so I just want to check it out. Right here. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's just straighten that out a bit. All right. All right, Sydney. Let's kind of look at what we got here. So we have a back neck facing. This is the unlined version. Back sleeve lining. Oh, I don't need this. Front sleeve, back sleeve. Okay, I don't need this piece. Great. So we have a 2-piece sleeve. So that'll be nice and comfortable. You see this nice seam down here. That'll make it so you have a natural bend in the sleeve. It's like a very simple coat, but that's kind of a like more tailored style detail. We have a pocket. Interestingly, there's no pocket facing. It's just a standard old inseam pocket, which I feel like we could improve upon that. I think these should have cutaway pockets, because if there's no lining, that little inseam pocket is going to flop around in there, you know, and you'll be able to see it. But if we did a cutaway pocket, it could be anchored to the jacket. I think that would be nice. You told me there's another I shouldn't have killed. That's right. That's funny. The weirdest yoke neck finish, no collar, and I thought no ways it's going to work, but it was magically amazing. That's pretty cool. All right. I have these big pieces here. Those too bright. Look at that, I can only fit one on the camera. We have a front and we have a back. Everything is cut too. These aren't on the fold. We have a front facing. What's this? This is the belt. And then the back neck facing. All right. I want to see how big my piece of fabric is. You know? Okay, so we can put the front and the back. How am I going to get the sleeve? Hopefully. We're going to make the medium. I'm going to get rid of this paper here so I can see and cut really close to the edge. All right, so we have our back here. I'm going to try and get the sleeve right off the bat because I always worry about sleeves. You know, I think we've definitely seen this happen to me a few times lately where I'm like, this doesn't need sleeves, does it? And we're going to be making the medium, so that's the second to last size on here. All right, so I think I can get both those pieces on there like that. And then that will leave the front facing, the back facing, this is on the fold, and the pockets and the belt. We'll see. Everything just fell off the table. All right, let's get this going. I'm kind of thinking the other reason I could do a cutaway pocket is I would only need 2 of these. It's a fabric saver. All right, so let's get this going here. I think the seam allowances are 3/8 of an inch throughout. Oh wait, that could be another pattern. Don't quote me on that. I'm sewing something for someone, and that one was 3/8. Isn't it funny how your eye can really make something parallel and it's really not? This probably has a little shaping. I'm really just like not far enough away. I keep moving it, but sheesh. All right, here we go. I'm really close to my, I think my whole mat keeps sliding. That's what's going on here. Let's start. My fabric is about the width of my mat. So just want to make sure I'm all the way on the table there. Can't even see it. There we go. I love that they like nicknames. I am a really big fan of, it's not that I'm a fan of nicknames. I use a lot of nicknames. And I used to have this friend, she was so anti-nickname. And I remember when they had kids, they were very, very clear and under no circumstances to shorten their names. And, which is fine, right? But for me, it's a sign of affection, you know? So, I mean, if you've been nicknamed around me, then it's a nice thing, you know? And I think most people's pets have more than one name, right? All right, let's cut this guy out. Oh, we're doing medium. The seam allowances are also drawn on the pattern, which is kind of odd, but okay, which one am I going for? This one here. I think that's nice and helpful. However, I think it's better on a PDF, you know what I mean? Because when you toggle off the other sizes, as long as the PDF is layered, then you would see your seam line. And so I guess I was right. This does look like a 3/8 inch seam allowance. The hem, oh, look at this. This hem kind of swings out past my selvage right here. She wouldn't allow it. Yeah, see, that's interesting. So I try and respect that for people. I definitely don't change someone's name. Like if they're Charles, I'm not going to call them Chuck or Charles. You know what I mean? Because I do think that right there is definitely still, it's not a nickname. It's their name they're choosing. And when I met my husband, I didn't know I met my husband at the time, he told me his name. I'm pretty sure now, I know he told me his name was Mike, and I changed it to Michael in my head. And then I noticed his friends always calling him Mike, and I was like, oh, did I like change your name? He's like, oh, it's fine. It didn't bug him. And I was like, oh, okay. Because that was unconscious, you know? I didn't mean to change his name. So they use a back off on their dart. I kind of like that. I always like when I see people doing that. All right, so I'm going to mark this pocket opening, but I'm going to come back and make this a cutaway pocket. Another skill building session that I have is my pockets one, and it's massive. All right, so like I said, I cannot find my pin cushion. It's pretty, you know, oh, I just found it. Oh my gosh. It's been hidden in plain sight on my thread. On my thread rack over there. That's so funny that I've looked so many times for it, and I finally, that happens to me a lot when I start talking out loud about something, especially a problem that I've been trying to think about for days. As soon as I start talking about it, the solution comes to mind. Right, Shasha. Well, your kid's very anti-nickname for your BFF for herself. Yes, right, Anna? Yeah. Yeah, so my mom has never in my life called me my name, which is Saremy. She calls me Emmy. And so my brother, my sister, my dad call me Emmy. I don't have a very big family. And I've had, you know, because it's such a weird name, Saremy, and people would say, well, do you have something easier? You know, people were a lot ruder up until very recently about names. And I would say, well, you can call me Emmy. And they were like, oh, they didn't like that. And it's the same for me. I have one friend from high school, and he calls me Emmy. And he knows my family and everything. And I have one childhood friend, they call me Emmy. And everybody, not even Michael, calls me Emmy. He calls me Saremy. I'm going to put a few pins on my pin cushion. But yeah, it's the same thing like Anna, you know, like when someone, I knew this about my friend, she had a twin sister. Yeah. And I knew her and her twin, and I knew her twin as Mindy. And then like years and years went by, and I didn't see her twin very often because she lived so far away. I saw her, and my friend was like, oh, she goes by Melinda now. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was so hard to break that habit. And I could tell who knew her because of that kind of thing. All right, so just a few pins. Just something. We're going to mark this dart here. And so this is like a pretty big back off, and the back off means that this is, actually, I don't even need pins for this. This is what's great. When you have a dart that does this right here, do you see how the point is down here, but there's this X right here? And so in pattern marking, if you mark the pattern like this, then you can use something like a drill hole maker or chalk or burn it. And then that way, that little marking stays inside the meat of the dart, right? And so I can take my screw punch here, use it to mark that drill hole right there. See my little, oh, can you see that? This is the hole right here. Oh yeah, now you can see the light. So I just made that drill hole, and I know that I have to sew, for this one, it's I think 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, it's 3/4 of an inch past that. But I don't have to use pins, which is great. I love that. I love that. All right, I marked my pocket opening, so I don't really need this pattern piece. Oh, there's another notch back here, so let's do that. And I'll notch the hem so I don't have to look it up. All right. But I think I'm going to be sewing this with French seams, so those notches, they won't even be seen by the time I'm hemming. Yeah, you don't have to use, you don't have to buy a screw punch, you guys. You can do an awl. So if you used an awl, like we'll pretend like this pin is an awl, right? And an awl, you know, it gets fatter at the top. If you press it through the fabric all the way, no pun intended, it will kind of damage the fabric a little bit right there. And that may be enough in a lot of fabrics just to use an awl. And I know a lot of you have one of those because of me too. So your mother-in-law wanted to call me like Erica and Miranda, Ricky and Randy. Really? That's funny. Yeah, that's so true, Nancy. I think that the best place to put anything is the first place you think about putting it, because it's most likely where you're going to think about putting it when you go to look for it again, right? You're well. Save the money for other things, Yolanda. Save it for other things. You don't need it. The tool does not sew the project. That's the way I look at that. Like, it's so easy to want to just go shopping for fabric or something, especially if you're kind of stuck or maybe you don't have a lot of time to sew. It's so easy to just, instead of sew, shop for fabric or shop for things for it. But at the end of the day, that actually doesn't, you know, that's not sewing, right? I might flip this piece of fabric over. I'm just going to measure this. I don't think I can get anything else here though, so it won't really matter if I flipped it over or not. Let's see, we'll put that at 8.5 and 8.5 like that. Look at their cute little ease squiggle. Ease. I like it. Medium. This is some pretty stout paper. Definitely not tissue. Yeah, I have no idea which one to go for there. Why? This right here is very suspicious to me that this grades in length and this doesn't. Those are the things I look at. You guys always want to know what I'm thinking about and what I look at. That is definitely, that's what's just popped into my head. All right, mark all of my notches. I don't know what these notches are, but we'll mark them. And then it's pretty easy to see the sleeve hem. Again, this won't matter because we're going to French seam it, but we'll still put them on there so we have a reminder. And then we have our sleeve. Also the wall. I like it. I asked the guild recently for some sewing related puns that were hopefully like one word in nature, but it could be up to, I think, 25 characters was what I learned. I like it. Also the wall. They're helping me out with something. They don't know it quite yet what it is. Okay. Let's get this little sleeve thing here. This is kind of dipping down into this section of fabric below this line where I cut the back. It makes me want to like hold off on cutting it, you know. It would probably fit actually better right there. I could just cut the piece out. And then I would see what, like this right here, this line doing this, that's like, All right, let's hope it's this one. Oh my goodness. Thankfully they have all these little lines marked. I got to remember which one they're pointing at here. Like they have little arrows saying which one is which. I appreciate that because if you actually want me to cut it out on the line and I can't tell, guess what's going to happen, you know? All right, I'm just going to cut this whole piece out and then I can flip it over. Like this right here, yeah. All right, so I'm going to fold this on the grain line here so I can see it through the paper. All right, like this. Let's see if I can tuck this up here a little bit. And it is the fold closest to me is the grain line. Like that. Oh, there's a big cut right there. Darn. Okay, that kind of got up there, so that's good. Now I feel more comfortable cutting this right here. And then we'll flip it over to do the notches, you know. This is kind of the perfect project this week because it just suddenly got so much cooler. Like my hands are actually a little bit, like, I don't want to say cold. That just seems crazy to say that they're cold. We were boiling last week. Like, it didn't even matter if you had ice cream or ice. It was just gone in seconds, you know? You had to be, like, quick. Enjoy it really quick. All right, so transfer our notches here, medium. We'll do the hem. Oh, I say I'm doing French seams, but that's not in a seam allowance to do French seams. When will I remember? Oh, man. We could bind them. We've never done that before. That's a lot of binding. That's a lot of binding. I don't know if I want to bind a flannel coat. I would be totally down for it. I love binding. I do have my binding machine though. Not binding machine, my binding attachment. All right, so we have the front. And this is the one I'll add the cutaway pocket opening to. Let's get this on here. Yeah, I love it. I like the heat, I like the cold. I like it all. If it had to be one thing though, it would be probably cooler. Because you can always get warm, right? It's flannel. It's like a regular shirt weight flannel. It's not very heavy. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too, Terry. I'm wondering if the binding attachment would pull, if it stretches the binding at all when it attaches it, because that wouldn't be really ideal for this, you know? It would be a lot of binding too. Unless I bound the seam allowances together. But like I said, it's flannel. I really don't think this fabric is what you would want to put that kind of effort on, binding the seams, you know? Like if this were a, like some other kind of like a coat and you didn't want to line it, like a coat, a coat fabric, oh my God. Yeah. I don't have enough seam allowance for that though, Libby. You could choose heat over cold, but what if it got hotter and hotter, you couldn't cool off? It's like, the seam allowance is like, it's like 3/8. Yeah, it would be a really nice detail, Martina. I agree. Especially unlined, right? Because you'd get a little flash of it and you could do a contrast. But this would be the 2 side seams, 2 center back seams, and then 2 more side seams. You'd have your shoulders, no big deal, and your armhole. I guess it's possible. You know, I guess one way you could do it is not doing it opened, right? If the seam wasn't open and you're just doing the seam allowance together, although oh yeah, and that would work on this kind of pocket opening. I guess, Nancy, I always think in terms of like, we didn't have any kind of control, temperature control. I always think in terms of extremes. It's terrible. And then I look at people and like some of the way people live, like so out of touch with like what it takes to like keep a human comfortable, you know, like people who've never built a fire to keep warm or something like that. Like that live in an environment where you just don't even have that opportunity or that exposure to it. And I think like, why do I think in these terms of extremes? Our world is definitely not geared this way. Like it's not going to happen, right? Most likely not going to happen unless some crazy movie story comes true. I was going to get my pattern pieces out for the pockets. Is this it? I have this in this unmarked envelope here, and hopefully I never forget. So in my pockets SBS, there's a part 1 and a part 2, and I'm going to bundle them together and make them one thing on my website. Right now they're bundled on the Guild, and you can buy them individually, but I totally recommend just getting the bundle because you'll feel like you're missing something if you don't. But you get these pattern pieces, and this is the cutaway pocket. So what it's going to look like, let me show you what it's going to look like. My box of samples. These right here I just threw on top. But they're all pretty much organized here. I think this is the cutaway Wait, this is it right here. Nope, not that one. So we're going to do a cutaway style. Look at all these samples I made for it. It was kind of a lot. Is it this one? Here it is. This was what I'm going to do. So this would be the coat, right? And then this is the side seam, and here's the pocket. That's what I'm going to do to this coat. And then the pocket is stitched to the coat, so it always moves with the coat. The pocket doesn't flop down and hang loose inside there, you know. Here's a different fabric version. This one I matched the print, which was kind of fun. And you only need, this right here is the coat itself, the front, right? You only need one pocket piece, this one right here. And then a way to finish the opening. I'm going to sneeze. I am Fiona. I don't know why I think that way. I think that I have always thought that way in terms of extremes. Like I'll be thinking about like, well, what as a human would be the best thing to do or eat or whatever. And I just think like, what would the first people have done? I don't know why I think that way, but I do. You would still, what about being dehydrated, Nancy? I love that on other people's channels, they argue about pineapple on pizza. And I'm like, who cares about that? Eat whatever you want. But here, I want to know, what would you do in a zombie apocalypse? All right, so I'm going to trace this off over this opening here, where that opening is at. And I'm going to cut that off. Just like that. And then we can cut this piece as our pocket. That's all we need. If I want a facing, this is the facing piece. It would go like right there. I don't know if I'm going to do a facing. Because I could just do binding. I think a facing would look kind of nicer, you know? All right. Move this over here. Yeah, right, Nancy. I think that is so much harder than we even think. A lot of people think, you know, like when you have solar, you're off the grid, but you're not. Unless you get off the grid, you are not off the grid. And so I always think like, well, if there was a zombie apocalypse, how could we change our solar? How could we become off the grid? How could we power our house with it? We do not know those things, my husband and I. We do not know those kinds of things. Okay, where's the medium? Am I off the camera? I don't know. I can move it over there like that. See this shape right here? Maybe I could slide it down. I'll cut out the bulk of it, and then I'll cut the... Which one's the medium? Oh my gosh. It is pretty hard to see. I'll cut out the main thing here, and then I'll slide it down. Okay. So we have all right, so here's my pocket opening, and I'm just going to cut this off. Hearts is really nice, and they let me modify patterns like that. Most people who send me projects are like, no, you do it the way we send it to you. Like, okay, no problem. Because they're looking for more of like a how-to. All right, which one's the medium? Oof. So these little interior corners, let's see, this one, let's see if I can do it. What I like to do is when I get to the interior corner, right, I will go up to that line like that, and then I pull this back. Oops. I pull this back like this, and then I can cut straight. Rather than trying to turn your corner with a knife, just pull it out of the way. So you just have to get up to the corner with your blade. You can use scissors, right? And that would be easier, but if you're not using scissors, this is kind of hard to do these interior corners. That's what I do. I pick it up like that. We're going to notch this dart leg, and then I'm going to drill this again right here. This is the back off of the dart. I don't drill these because those are buttons or buttonholes. And then I want to make sure this right here is cut really accurately because this little area will be a little tricky. And then I guess I'll do this notch here and this easing notch, which is really high because this is where the two-piece sleeve goes. And that's it. All right. That's a lot less cutting. Oh yeah, just peeling it back. Yeah. Yeah, any of those interior corners, they can be kind of a pain when you use a rotary knife. Fold my pattern pieces. All right, so we have left. So you see now our pocket shape there on the side seam. There it is. All right. I have the facing, which is my last really long piece that I need to get on here uninterrupted. I had plenty to do my sleeves above here though. So this is the fold of my fabric at this end right here. And then we have this, that's not it, this one right here. We have this really long piece for the front facing. I'm not going to use this pocket piece because I'm going to use the one I have here, right? I need to do this one here. There's the belt, and then there's the neck, and that's everything. And I have this much left, so we're good. It's really good I got those sleeves done, though. We don't like it when Saremy doesn't get sleeves. All right, so this will fit right here. These kinds of things you need to cut very accurately. They're not hard to sew, but if they're not cut accurately, you're going to have a little bit of pulling, tugging, and torquing. You know what I mean? So set it up good. Medium. Man, these lines, they're so nice to see, but they're really thick. So we'll go down this side this time. So we're going to here, right? And then we can pick this up and go like that. I went a little bit into this down here, but that'll be okay. It's still inside the seam allowance. This wide of a line, the thickness of this line, can make a little bit of your sewing a little inaccurate. It's pretty thick. You have to decide. Do you cut it off? Do you include it? Or do you go down the middle, you know? Those little amounts add up. Okay, Terry, see you later. You're getting ready to try some new interfacing. Pro woven will not shrink, so it says, I've had it with Fallon. Not, you've had it with Fallon. Ooh, Lippy. That's exciting. You better share with what you got. Oh my gosh. I was pretty excited to check out their Liberty Knits. And then I was very disappointed. It wasn't like the prints on the Tonalon. I don't know what I was thinking. When I saw them, I was like, oh, I've seen these before, you know? I've seen Liberty Knits before. And they're fine. They're just like what I wanted was what I see on the Tonalons, like those little florals. I just love those. All right, so this is a princess seam coat. No. Front facing. What does this go to? Why is there a seam right here? I saw this actually in the instructions, but I don't have a lining, so why is this a notched? We'll just leave this pattern piece on here. This is the piece that when your collar turns back, you'll see it. Oh, from Fashion Sewing Supply. Nice. Yeah. Like everyone's been recommending them to me too. Okay, so we need, this is on the fold right here, but we also need these 3 pieces. So let's see, let's turn this fabric, what we have here. We have this, like 1/3 of a yard right here. And then we have, it's kind of fancy. Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely against the rules. I mean, I'm sure people do it because you could totally do it without, you know, saying you're doing it. Ooh, Fiona, that's exciting. Liberty Swim, yeah. Oh. Libby, that's funny. I mean, kind of funny, right? I lost my grain line, so I'm just kind of looking for the grain line here. And I'm trying to see how straight this cut edge is here to the grain line so that I can put my pocket. It's not so critical with my pockets, but still. So I wonder what it's for then. I actually read those. I looked at that Liberty Swim. I noticed it wasn't stretch, but I noticed it was something else. I can't remember now. I only need 2 of those. All right. We have these, and so I think I will do a facing on the opening of my pocket. This is a facing, so if you didn't want to use your self fabric for your pocket, but you wanted it to still match, this is the little facing that the palm would be under the palm of your hand as you put your hand in the pocket. This facing goes against the knuckles, and it'll basically clean finish. Here's the pocket opening, so. There should be a notch on this pattern piece. There is on the pattern pieces, but there's not on mine. All right, we can get rid of all this here. And we need the belt. I don't have enough for the belt. That's what I should have just now cut, was the belt. So 160 centimeters. Let me figure that out. Oh, okay. 63 inches. My fabric is 57 inches wide. So I could put a seam in it. Why call it seam? They suggest board shirts. I guess it's because of the UV. Oh, it's UV protection. So it's for like a UV shirt. Ooh, a Liberty UV shirt sounds pretty nice. Okay, this needs to go on the fold here, but I still need my belt. Back neck. Yeah. That's what this is right here. Yep. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking. Yeah, I think I'll put this. I'll make it in 2 pieces with a seam at the center back. And it'll be a diagonal, so it won't be very standout-ish. Mafio, how's it going? Nice to see you. All right, I don't want to put this right here in the fold, so we'll put this like over here maybe. Look across the front, you know. Make my fabric a little 100% nylon. Oh. No, there's a delay, Fiona. It's not you. If I lower the delay, which is the latency, the subtitles, what is it? There's no subtitles or captions, which I know a lot of people, I do. I rely on those, especially if you can't watch with the sound on, you know. All right, so let me get my long ruler. So I'm going for, did I really X out of the, I did. What was it? Oops. 63 inches. Okay. 63 inches. So if I do this at like 32 inches, which is actually like way down here, that'll be enough fabric there. So I'm gonna, I'm just going to cut off this little piece of fabric here, just to have it on hand. And then make sure that my facing will fit here. Maybe a little more. It is folded in half. There's a fold line right here. So it's pretty narrow. It's a pretty skinny belt. It's optional too. I don't think I saw belt loops. Okay, this is pretty close. All right, so that's my belt allotment. All this so that I can open this up and cut this on the fold so that I'm not cutting it smack dab in the middle of my remaining fabric, you know? And I think I have to do I still have to do some interfacing cutting. That's interesting. The pattern pieces don't say. Interesting. I saw a list, so I need to look at that list. There we go, no problem. Except for this big fat wrinkle I have. Okay, one unfold. I imagine this is an interfacing. Which one? This one. Okay. Where's Malin? We're making a pattern from her country and she's not here? Wow. She's fired. I'm just teasing. She's probably lurking. Just kidding, Marlon. All right. Let's cut this piece off here so it's a little easier to handle in my stash. Like this. And then show you what I'm doing. Here, we can save this actually. This is what I do with my scraps right now, is when it's a garment that I've made and it's not something that's going to go in like maybe a bin for, I don't know, making quilts or something like that. If it's a garment related, oh, I just threw that in there, didn't I? Fabric, what I do is I roll it up like this. I actually do it in a little bit smaller roll. Something like more like that. A nice tidy little roll like this. And then I tie it and I put it in a bin. And when I do it like this, I can put it in the bin on their ends like this, so I can see them all. And it's been really helpful. I finally just like sat there and did it during one of our workshops because my bin was getting so full of fabrics, and I like keeping those because, you know, like say I decide to, which is pretty often, I will decide to change a already existing garment, and maybe I'm like, okay, if I had a little fabric, I could replace this pocket or add a pocket and make this dress now into a shirt and put a shirt pocket on it, right? And so if I save my fabrics for that, or a repair, you know, like something's happened, right? You might need to repair your garment. So I do save all these for that. And they're garment fabrics, so they're not really ideal for other projects. So, and it's been great because now that I've organized them like that, I'm using them. You know, it's like, oh, I have to make a hat for someone, a project, it's like a paid video to how to sew video for someone, their pattern company. And I'm kind of hoping I don't have to buy fabric. They'll pay for the fabric, but it's just nice if I can use my own stash, right? It was a job that came up unexpectedly, and I could get it done faster if I just use my own. And I was like, oh, this waterproof fabric I have coordinates really well with this rayon I used in a jacket I made a long time ago that I don't know what else I'm going to use rayon for. A half yard of rayon or a third of a yard of rayon. Perfect for a hat lining, right? So, and they don't care if the fabric is available as far as like for sale. So it just needs to be good on camera. All right, so we're looking for a piece that is, I'll just find the measurement, and then I can draw it on the fabric, right? And that way it's a little bit easier to deal with. Whoops, well, that wasn't nice. Why do you keep doing that? You know what? I got a new box of this. Where is that? I'm gonna try it. Oh, maybe this isn't this is a crayon. Here it is. Yeah, it's just Chalor's chalk. Never mind, it's nothing fancy. This stuff here. It's nice and sharp. This is ancient, but it is a tailor's thing, and it's a crayon, so kind of permanent, right? But this is nice and sharp. Ooh. A little bit of chalk ASMR for you. Oh yeah, we like that. We see a nice long line, and we're going to go a little bit bigger than we need so that we can have a diagonal line. So satisfying. Okay, 63 plus we need, yeah, so we're going to do it right here. Okay. Okay, I like these rulers because they're really thick, like this way. But I don't like how they put the lines on here. Just give me long, straight lines. And then they like wrap them in yellow. It's like a black line inside the yellow. I'm like, no, just please give me long, straight lines. So I have to find every little tiny hash mark, you know? Let me just whine about a ruler. All right. Ooh, that was pretty satisfying. Okay. There's definitely a right and wrong side to this fabric. Right now, the side that's facing up is less fuzzy. It's more smooth. So I normally would put the fuzzy side towards the skin because it's flannel, right? You want it to be cozy, unless it's like, you know, you might want the look. I mean, the look. Maybe it's the look that you want. You know, then you might not use it that way. But for this, I think I'm going to put the fuzzy side to the outside so that it maybe clings less to the person. I don't know. All right, and so now I'm going to, the reason I'm saying that is I'm going to put both of these belts the same direction up, and I'm going to cut a 90-degree angle right here. So that when I piece it together, it'll be a nice continuous piece, and the angle will be less thick on the seams. All right, so here's my belt. Now let's check out the interfacing. Let's organize my bin and get rid of some rulers here. Do you guys hang your rulers up? So much easier to deal with, right? All right, so we have this. These are gonna go in my pocket bin. Yeah, there are better ones out there, so that's good to know. It's what they had, you know, so I bought it. This could go in my little fabric roll here. This too, actually. It's enough to do a pocket, you know. And it's pretty easy to add to the roll. I used a bunch of like scraps to tie them all. I didn't actually use the same fabric for a lot of them. Okay, let's check out my bin here. Belt, front facing, back neck facing. We're not using this, and I don't need this anymore. Pocket facing. I'm gonna put all our pattern pieces. Oh, this is sleeve, and then the body. Okay, so this is the body, sleeves. All right, let's put all these pieces away, and then let's check out the interfacing we need. Oh, really? That's not that uncommon, you know, because a lot of those fabric companies, that's actually a smart move for art gallery, and it'd be really nice to get, because their fabric's really good quality for quilting rulers. Did I just say quilting rulers? I think I was reading Nancy's comment. All right, so we have our interfacing here. When you go to a textile show, like say you're shopping fabric for a clothing brand. Say you have a line of clothing and you want to shop for fabric at a textile show, because that's usually the traditional way you go about it. The internet's great, but usually you go to a show and the buyers are there, they set up all their fabric and you place your order, and then you find out delivery and blah, blah, blah. You can even, if you're big enough, you can have exclusive rights to the fabric, blah, 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 right? They will say there, like when I used to go to the textile show, there was never a company like Art Gallery or like Ruby Star Society wouldn't even be able to go in there, or Cotton and Steel, all those quilting cottons, nope, they are not there. Anybody who sold to a fabric store wasn't there. And so they would say there were like handwritten notes at the door of all of these places, because it's like you go to the California Mart building, which is like the garment district downtown, and then you go to the Mart building, and it's there is like small areas that are like convention center style, you know, where like there's booths, but mostly people have like offices. They have empty offices, and then they set up in an office, and there's like garment racks on the wall, and all those fabrics are sitting there, and then the reps are on the side with little tables talking to you. And you walk in, you look through the fabrics, blah, 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 learn out price, delivery, whatever. But on the outside of the door, it'll say no jobbers, no fabric stores. Some of them probably allow it, but most of them don't. And that's why, like, when I would go to the textiles show, I got some of our fabrics there, and it was great because no other bag maker did that. They all bought from places, or they had a friend who owned a fabric store that would allow them to buy wholesale, which, by the way, against the rules in some places. So, yeah, me too, Miranda. But it's so affordable, and that makes it a lot more accessible. And it allows also for a fabric store to be somewhere where, say, an independent fabric store can't make it. But at the same time, there's a lot of independent fabric stores that can't make it because there's a Joann's in their neighborhood too. So, you know. So I'm not surprised Art Gallery I'm surprised I think the reason they wouldn't have been there before is the price. Art Gallery isn't cheap. You know, none of them are. So, a jobber is someone who, you know, when people sell dead stock, jobbers have been doing that since the garment industry was invented. And that's what they do. They go around and they get the leftover fabrics from production runs, and then they sell the fabric to other people who are manufacturing a line of clothing. Not necessarily fabric stores again. They're selling to other people, and it's like, oh, you could get this Yves Saint Laurent fabric from us. We bought all of it, and you can get the rest of it from us if you want it in your line, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you can do that. I bet Yves Saint Laurent is like, no, you cannot manufacture with our fabrics, right? But there's a lot of little subtleties there. But yeah, and that's what they're called. They're called jobbers. It's a terrible name, isn't it? But so they're the original people who sold dead stock fabric. And now they have probably a lot of competition now. But like even my rep that came to me and showed me Cotton and Steel or Art Gallery, like different reps have different lines, right? Mine had Free Spirit, Moda, Cloud9. He had a couple others. He also had dead stock from, so he didn't rep a jobber, but he repped someone that, so that's how, like, in fact, I'm sure I could say this now, but do you guys know Fringe Association? Fringe, she was a really popular blogger. She had this bag, what's her bag called? Well, I got her that fabric. So yeah, like her undyed canvas and all of her fabrics, like I helped her with that because that you have to have like a kind of a source to get it. Oh, Art Gallery is definitely less expensive than Liberty because Art Gallery is from Florida. They're not made in Florida, but yeah, Liberty is imported too. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if you'll start seeing more people like that. That's pretty good. That's great for Art Gallery. They have really good fabric. I like their fabric because you can actually use it for garments. You know, because if you wanted a lawn, I've used many Art Gallery fabrics as a lawn. You know the Lady McElroy fabrics? They're very similar to Art Gallery. I feel like it's the exact same base. I always think Lady McElroy fabrics are Art Gallery fabrics. It's like a fine woven lawn tighter, more like poplin or lawn-ish. In fact, when we would have binding made out of their fabric, it was a problem because their fabrics were a little lighter weight and our binding machine was like, we're going to torque and put drag lines on it. They did not make that pattern. Oh, you're talking about, they actually, I know a lot about that pattern because they asked me, Karen Templer, who has fringe, asked me to manufacture it. And it was a friend of hers in Berkeley who designed the bag. And then she needed it manufactured, so she came to me. And I actually had the pattern and everything, like here in my shop. It might even still be on the rack. I'm not sure. And then when she partnered with, she's probably sold the pattern to Grain Line Studio. That's what it is. At the very end of when she closed her blog and stopped manufacturing them. You're thinking of the, is her bag the field bag? It's the field bag, right? But there's the stow bag. Grain Line, and she did a partnership with Grain Line along the way called the stow bag too. Yeah. And I think they're both in Tennessee, or they were. I don't know where Karen moved to. I think it was Florida, right? So let me look up these interfacing pieces. This is probably really boring, sorry. All right. Yeah, I think Lady, it is the field bag. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was like, we will sew this if we can make these changes to it. She's like, nope. Because it's put together in a really complicated way. And there's a lot of easier ways to put it together, but she was very much adamant. And you could put it together different ways without compromising it or changing the look of it. But there's just like, she was very adamant about that. And I'm not criticizing her for that. Like that is 100% like a designer's vision, but it wasn't her design. So it was this other gal who, when I worked with her, she came to our shop and everything. And we sewed them together and everything. And then she found a factory to do it. And I ran into her at Stitches one day. And she was like, yeah, this manufacturing thing. I was like, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's hard. No, it's fine. I'm at the end. I'm sure people have already been like, she's done cutting it. She's rambling now. Classic rambly Saremy. We're here for community, right? Where's this list? I was literally reading this list of interfacing pieces yesterday. Where is this? Lining fabric. No. Where is this list? I remember it's like written out and it's highlighted. Is it on something else? Like it's like repetitive how it's written out. Oh, here it is, right here. Pocket opening of each front piece. Front facing, back facing, and belt. Okay. They don't give you a pattern piece for the pocket opening. So if you want to interface that, I would do something like a 1-inch wide strip on your opening, like 2.5 centimeters wide. And then a little past the opening. That's what I would do. So, all right. So we need, well, this isn't big enough. I'm pretty sure. We need this whole piece. Oh boy. We need this piece. We need this. We need this. And I'll do my pocket opening too. We need a lot. But you know what? I want to get rid of mine, so I'm going to use it. Here you go, hearts. You're here for the ramble. Should I use the black? I think they have black. Maybe I shouldn't use the black. I'll use the white. All right. I think the black would be a good choice for this though. always forget to use the black. Do you guys do that too? Like we see white interfacing on everything so often. But then sometimes the fabric is actually better suited for black, you know? And I forget to use it. All right, so we'll line this up. This is fusible woven, so it does have a grain line. You know, it's not like regular old non-fusible, non-woven. So yeah, you learn a lot in the ramble. Yeah, but it's not useful. I'm talking about someone else's business. I never told anyone any of that because I just didn't feel like it would have been a good thing to say out loud, because not like it was bad, but because I didn't want anyone to ever go to her and say, why didn't you use chicken boots to make your bags if you know, or, oh, if you're having trouble with your factory, maybe you should ask chicken boots again, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's none of people's business what she wanted to do with her business. And I was just like, first of all, you're my competitor. And I was really flattered that she would consider letting me do it. But she was really insistent that I, you know, when you don't know anyone to do something, you ask the only person you do know. And I was just like, I can't do this for you. Like I would have to hire people, and she wasn't very big at the time. I would have to hire people just to make your stuff, and that I'm not a factory for hire. I'm manufacturing my stuff. And so and I said, well, I would consider it if we could get the time down, which would be cheaper for her, by making some of these changes. And she wasn't interested in that. So I was like, yeah, like I can't spend all this time. And I'm so glad I did that, because her bags became so sought after. It would have compromised my business. And Rayanne was like, I did not like sewing it. It was not easy to sew. It was a big pain in the booty to sew, and it had grommets and leather, all this stuff on it, you know? So I was just like, nah. At the end of the day, probably better. And I think that was probably, I never got to hear like where she went or what it was like. I just know that she was like, yeah, it's no joke. I'm like, yeah, it's not no joke. Hello, Brackenese. How's it going? Really, Haisha? I feel like we're on the same level sometimes like that. You primarily use the black and... Do you sew a lot of dark garments, Mafio? Maybe I should be using it more, huh? I probably should be using it more, to be honest. Okay, so... Yes, that makes me nervous, using this stuff. Yeah, I know, Aisha. I know, but they weren't washable. And they were tiny. They were cool, though. They were really cool. Every time I saw one, they were just a dingy mess. And I was like, yeah. There is a code on the screen for hearts too. All right, so I need to decide my fabric. And like I said, I think I'm going to do, gosh, you know, I feel like the fuzzy would look better towards the body. Yeah, I'll put the fuzzy towards the body. So that means I need this one like this, and this one like this. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Get those to share a line like that. It made you not want it? That's funny. If I ever got one, it would have been like one of Jen Hewitt's. But I do not like stressful shopping, you know, where you have to like tune in at this certain time and hope you don't get cart jacked, you know. I don't. When I would have things like that and people would miss out, the emails I would get were some of the most stressful emails. I did not like that, and it happened a lot. But we got to a point where we could keep everything in stock. And people would say, you never have anything. I'm like, I do too. I would go head to head with them. I'm like, no, you haven't been on my site, because I keep everything in stock now. And even when we would do that really big annual Harry Potter thing, after I had no idea that it was going to explode. And one year, you know, I got those emails and never again. I made sure there was enough, and that was hard. That comes at a cost to do that. But you'll eventually sell it. You just may not sell it that day. But we would sell out in like 20 minutes, so it was kind of nuts. I understand that, Bracketies, totally. It's a lint and cat hair magnet, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of thing. It was a nice aesthetic, you know. I really liked the aesthetic of those bags. And I think like when those came on the scene and they started doing really good, it really made me realize how much of my aesthetic wasn't my aesthetic anymore. You know what I mean? But that's who my customer was, so I stuck to it. Because that's what they wanted. And I would do special projects that were different, but outside my product line, so people weren't like, you're not changing, are you? Everybody's very invested in what you're doing. Okay. Now I just need, ooh, those were very painless to cut. Thank you for distracting me to cut those. I just need this little back thing here. You know, I was going to say, I never had those lines of in booth. I'd be lying. I had those on like Thursday night, but they weren't like that. Like people were there for yarn usually. I remember one year my booth was, so do you guys know who Plucky Knitter is? I had never heard of them. My bad. And they came to Stitches West, and people were just crazy for it. And they were just down from me, like straight down. And their line and their booth was so big that it went right in front of my booth, which was annoying because it blocked the front of it. But a lot of people stood there staring at my booth and being like, oh, and then they shopped at my booth. And so it was really great for me. So it was kind of like a cool way to get exposure, was being near someone like that. And I didn't know I was going to be near them. They were like a last minute ad. So ended up being a good thing for me. And I remember talking to them in the elevator, and they weren't the nicest, which was kind of funny, but, I was just like, oh, nice to see you. How long have you guys been doing this? And I was so one of those people that I was so clueless that I was offending them and I didn't realize it. But I just didn't know who they were. I didn't know they were a big deal, you know. They didn't think. I was kind of later on at night going, I think I just offended them, but I didn't mean to offend them. I was literally just like trying to make conversation, and they weren't interested. I was such small potatoes, you know what I mean? So, yeah, exactly, Heidi. Yeah, I mean, and if you don't keep doing things you like, then that's hard, right? It's really hard to show up every day if you're not doing something you really, really like. Yeah, the scarcity model. That's a great way to put it. I do not like that. Here's the thing. I will tell, if anyone here, I don't know if I'll be able to word this very well, but here's the deal. If you're a maker and you're trying to build your business and you're starting to gain in popularity, selling out, people say this to comfort you, selling out is awesome. It's not awesome, because you know what happens when you sell out? You can't make any more money. I'm just going to be really bland, like say it just straight up, okay? So the worst thing for me is if on Saturday afternoon at a show, my booth wasn't full. Well, I'll take that back. More of like Friday afternoon. If Friday afternoon came around and my booth wasn't very full, I was stressed out, sad, frustrated. Other people were like, oh my God, that's so awesome, you're selling out. And I'm thinking, the biggest day of this show hasn't happened yet, and all I'm going to do is make people mad. And so we would do some really creative things. We would start special orders. I would like even like go as far. If I didn't, like the first couple of years, I didn't know this could happen. I wasn't expecting to like sell out or something. I'd be like in the lobby of the hotel creating a form and printing it out there so that I could take special orders, and then I would offer free shipping. And it would jack up our whole production schedule, but it's money, and you're there and you've paid all this money for your booth. If on Saturday evening your booth is kind of empty, you've had a good day, people are still finding a few things, that's okay, because you know what? You don't sell anything on Sunday. Sunday, I only ever sold $600. $600 every Sunday of the last day of the show. We always called that vendor appreciation day, which meant all the vendors were shopping at each other's booths and trading. That's what Sundays are for. So everybody goes home. If you ever want to go to a show, here's another tip. If you ever want to go to a show like Stitches West, and you're one of those people that you're like, there's no way I could go to a show like that. It's too big. It's too overwhelming. Go on Sunday. It is empty. And I'm not exaggerating. It is empty, empty, empty. Maybe you won't get the things from the people you really want to see that you saw them posting about on Instagram, but that's okay. Maybe you didn't see what you missed out on. You won't know what you missed. You're still going to see all their fantastic stuff. And you're going to come away with stuff you love, and you will never know that you missed out on something that you may have wanted more. You're going to love what you got, or you don't get anything, that's fine, but you won't be stressed out because there's no lines, all right? So getting back to the whole selling out thing, it is not good to sell out. It is good to learn who your customer is and anticipate how many you need and what you expect to sew, what your backup plan is if you do sell out, and be ready to know, how could I get more out there and how fast can I do it? And that's when I'm going, all right, I'm going to call my vendor and see, can I get this fabric again? And how long is it going to take to get to me? Oh, I can't. All right, well, am I willing to buy it at full retail? And how much of it and where could I get it? And Hearts Fabric was actually one of the places I would check. They didn't know who I was, but they sent things so quickly, I would ask them. So, and then do you have all of the findings, notions, everything you need to make those things, and how fast could you turn them around? And if you can, then what you do is you immediately put up a pre-order button and you say exactly when you're going to deliver. So that's my tips. Scarcity model, not good. It might work out for someone like Plucky Knitter or Fringe, but they're the extreme. If you really want to build your business and make money, you have to have product to sell. Bottom line, you have to have product to sell. I never became a Plucky Knitter or a Fringe, but I was consistent and I did really good at shows, and it wasn't crazy, maddening. And I did better than all the people around me physically, because they were all competing with each other because they were yarn buyers or yarn sellers, right? So I had that going for me, but there were plenty of bag makers there. So anyway, sorry, unsolicited advice. sorry. But I hate that whole scarcity model thing. I used to comfort myself with, oh, it's okay to sell out. And then I realized, no. And I think it was just something my husband casually said once, not even realizing this was on my mind. And it was to the effect of, well, if you have nothing to sell, you can't make money. Like, of course, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that? So, yeah. I would love to like help people do their like sewn product business, and my other little first thing I always say is make sure you can actually cut and sew as many during your work week as you want to make money for. So if you want to make 20 grand a month, can you actually cut and sew that many in your work hours and ship them and market them and photograph them? Can you actually do that? Probably not. So you got to like raise your prices. Raise your prices. All right. Do you want to watch me iron this on, or are you guys done? listening to me rant at you. I'm so ranty. Tomorrow I'm going to start sewing this. So if you want to join me, I didn't check my camera over here. Can you guys hear me over here? I didn't set it up. I don't have a face cam over here either. Face cam. I'm setting this camera up right now. Tell me if you can hear me though. Let's see. Did someone just say rant, rant, rant? I can't see the whole screen yet. Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Okay. The scarcity thing happens with everybody. Everybody does the scarcity thing. And you know, it drives me crazy because, like say, well, let's see, what am I trying to say? I need some double stick tape from my mat right now. Here with the rants. Oh, thank you, Sue. Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm kind of on the other side of this table. They sent this project to me, Brackeny. So what they do is they send me projects and I get everything to make it. And then once I'm done, I send it to them and it hangs in their store and they get to keep it. I don't keep them. So if you guys, they actually ask me from time to time, like, what are your viewers wanting? And they will ask for pattern recommendations. So if you guys ever are on their website and you see a pattern on there and you're like, oof, I've always wanted to know more about this. I wish Saremy would make it. Just let me know or tell them. They'll send it to me. There's the only thing, my only caveat is I really like it to be size inclusive. And there's a chance if they're like, you know what, we're not going to continue that pattern anymore, or they stopped selling printed versions of it, or blah, 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 right? There's only those little caveats. But for the most part, everything's kind of on the table. Or maybe even a particular fabric. I didn't cut this out on the fold very well, right? To get these all set up. You're here nodding. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole scarcity thing. Yeah, so if you have like, when I would see yarn companies, like Lemonade Shop was one of the very first yarn companies, I was like, ooh, I really want that yarn. It was something I'd never seen before. And then I saw like, so every time they would sell out, right? And so unfortunately, I finally got a skein. It doesn't knit up as cool as the skein looks. That's the only thing. But, you know, when you learn, like, I don't know about her, like, I don't remember her numbers, but I would see, they're like, we only have 10. I'm like, you only have 10? What the heck are you thinking? So let's say you have 10 of something. Let's say it's a $30 skein of yarn. $30 is a lot to pay for a skein of yarn. But if for I want to say, what are those big skeins? Are like 400 yards or something like that? So say you do these big skeins, it's $30, and you're like, okay, we've got more. We finally have this color you all love, blah, 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 or this technique or whatever. It goes up for sale on such and such, and there's only 20. That person's going to make $300. And that's not all money going in their pocket. They had to buy the yarn, they had to buy the dye, they had to dye it, they have to deal with all the customer emails, they have to list it on their website, they have to photograph it, they have to package it up, print the shipping labels. By the way, nobody gets paid for that, and it's really, really like time consuming to ship orders and make them ready. They're literally making $2 a skein on that skein. So why would they make just 10 of them? You know, that just torques me when I see that. I don't even try. I'm like, forget it. You're not going to be around. It's special, but at the same time, what's going to happen is some other company is going to rip you off. And then they're just going to put you under. They're going to bury you because they can deliver. And it's so sad. I even saw Madeline Tosh post a picture of a skein of the Lemonade Shop yarn that they dyed. They copied it perfectly. Didn't say anything about who they were inspired by. And then just like posted a picture with no context. Their fans don't all know who Lemonade Shop was. This is a long time ago, you guys. I don't even know if Lemonade Shop's in business anymore, right? And I don't know anything about her. We're not like friends or anything. I just remember this specifically because I actually wanted one of those skeins. When I saw Madeline Tosh do that, I thought that was so crappy. You know, because they knew whose that was. They knew who they copied. They didn't tag them. All their customers were like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want that. So they were gauging interest so they could do it themselves. It's really gross. Not in this one, Nancy. If they ask for it back, I do, but I don't have to on this one. They let me keep it. So I can make it again, which I love. I love being able to like test them out. I'm so ranty today. I feel like I'm always ranty. I'm not really ranty. I'm actually not mad or anything. There's just so many people. I think what bugs me right now is there's so many people trying to make a living having like a product business that they make, but they're not actually serious. They think they're serious. They're not serious. They are not serious. It's so much work to be serious, and I'm not trying to say like they don't love it, they don't believe in it, they don't think they're serious. But they're not actually doing everything they need to do to be really serious, which is really tough because it is hard work. It is not all fun and dyeing yarn, you know. So, all right, where's the back of this fabric? These are long. Okay, I like to iron from the top. Do you guys like to iron from the top? I know it's like I run the risk of it touching my iron, but I feel like this stuff goes on a lot better. I have strong opinions, that's all. I really do. And I don't mind them being proven wrong. I'm having trouble seeing the fuzzy side, but then that was really obvious. Well, most of us here don't have anyone to talk about sewing with, so yeah, exactly. You owned a business, so it really bugs me when people think it's so, yeah, and that everything's a write-off. I'm like, it might be a write-off, but I had to pay money. It's not like a direct cash credit. I had an accountant say, you need to buy more art to hang on the walls so you can write it off. And then you can just take it home at one point and we can like zero out the whatever. I don't know what it was. And I was like, that means I have to make enough money to buy art for my walls. No, I want to buy a new piece of machinery. Oh, that's fine. You can do that too. But that depreciates. Yeah, but it appreciates my workflow. Our country is not kind to being an entrepreneur. That's the big weird oxymoron, because there's the whole like American dream thing where everyone wants to be rich, but being an entrepreneur is financially not feasible, unfortunately. Ah, Rachel's here. Yeah, you're still spinning that, yeah. You're missing the ranty stuff. I was talking about, well, we were just talking about like manufacturing and the scarcity model. Because I brought up Plucky Knitter. And when I should tell you this story one day because there's a little bit more to it. But I was vending near them at Stitches West the one time they went there, and I didn't know who they were. Like, shame on me, right? And but they were near my booth. And so while their lines really impacted me negatively, they actually impacted me really positively too. So I was really thankful for it in the end. But I was trying to like make small talk with them in the elevator, and they, I think, weren't really interested. And I was clearly ignorant of who they were. I was like, oh, you guys had a really good day. Your booth looked really busy. That's awesome. And I said, how long have you been dying? You know, things like that. And they were just like, oh my God, this person does not know who we are. But then we were talking about the scarcity model and how really frustrating it is to shop from someone who uses it. You will refrain from cursing. Thank you, Kelly. You're going to keep it private? All right, Sue, have a nice night. Sleep well. I know it's getting late there, huh? These are my last pieces. I'm going to like press these extra good because I've been having so much, you know, drama with this stuff. Yeah, me too, Jan. I don't know. I mean, I've been a really big vocal proponent of domestic manufacturing. No matter what country you're in, I feel like manufacturing the products you sell in your own country is a really great circle that benefits a lot of people. And our country has really given up a lot of that. And there's a slow increase in domestic manufacturing here, but we have things that go against bringing in labor, and we don't have the supplies and materials, so they're not made here either, and we're much happier not having the environmental impact of getting some of those supplies and materials in our own country. We're much happier to exploit another country to get those, unfortunately. And so you're still beholden to being able to get those supplies and materials from somewhere else. And the things that we do make here get so expensive, they end up they price out people who are actually doing the labor to make it. So the very people that are making your items can't even afford to buy your items. You know what I mean? So the circle is not quite without some serious kinks in it. Yeah, to most people, you're making the labor thing is free. And this is why I was bringing up, to bring this back to sewing and the pattern companies. Because I would really like to know how much some of the pattern companies, you know, like Cashmerette or Grainline Studio or this company, Assembly Line, right? I think it's really, really hard to make a living and pay employees with the cost of a pattern. If you start doing the math and say you have overhead because you have to store all the patterns, you need to ship it, you need the workspace, you need employees, you don't want them working in your home, right? You shouldn't have to either. I'm a big proponent of people being able to keep work and home separate. And so if you wanted to do that, how many patterns would you have to sell on a monthly basis to be able to afford to do that? And it's a high number. Yes, Rachel, I got that too. Yeah, Kelly, the supply chain is really, really, really strange right now. I think the Panini really shed a light on some of that, which is good in some ways. We don't need as much as we think. That's the thing, is like we don't need as much as we think. Right, Libby? Exactly. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Coffee, cocoa, yarn, wine, yarn. Yeah, it's a. I wish I was really. Make My Lemonade has a line that they sell as ready-made and a line of patterns. Oh, interesting. Hey, Michelle, how's it going? Make My Lemonade. Squeeze your lemons. Is that what they really wanted to call it? I really wish I was educated on these topics, but I'm only educated as a person who tried to manufacture myself. And I don't have all the lingo or studies or anything like that. Yeah, right, Nancy, exactly. And I have really strong opinions about it. I do believe in a global economy, but I do think that for the most part, there needs to be more jobs, entry-level jobs. You can't all end up having, because people think, oh, if you end up having all these tech jobs, higher paying jobs, that's great for everybody. It's only great for people if they can get the education they need in order to do those jobs, right? I'm really into like socioeconomic things and things that lift people up. It's not political for me either. It's very much like they're all humans. There's no way having a line of clothing is more affordable than having the line of patterns. You know why? Because now they have to make everything in a bunch of different sizes. Yeah, Heidi, exactly. They're French. Oh. Interesting, Aisha. Amen, Patrick. Yeah, that is interesting. I think, weren't we all looking in the new pattern release show, weren't we looking at someone who did that? I think that's really interesting too. Or it was someone, you guys were explaining to me the whole backstory on their company. I can't remember. Like they had a line of clothing, then they changed it to patterns, or they gave the patterns away for free, and then they stopped doing that, like they did for a time, and then they were like, okay, now we've made formal home sewing patterns out of these. Who was that? That was really interesting. Yeah, Nancy. My daughter feels that way. She's just like, how am I supposed to go to school? How can I live and go to school? Like, how do I afford to do that? She can't. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, exactly, Michelle. Yeah, everything is pretty wacky right now. And I think that Panini really shed a light on what you need and what you don't need. And that really hurt a lot of companies. So, oh, that's what it was, Mafio. Yeah, Elizabeth Suzanne. Yeah. They might have been, Patrick. I think that could be it. Simple Shapes, right? There was like Simple Shapes. And so it wasn't necessarily, because we were doing a new pattern release show, which we do once a month on the last Friday. And it's not necessarily that it was a new pattern. It was just like one of their patterns is now available on the line, right? Yeah, I know. My daughter was citing those numbers, Aisha. Yeah, even community college. It's like nuts. And you know what the thing is? Like, I'm not even a huge, like, everyone needs to go to college person. I'm really into having a skill, obviously. I mean, that's what I have, right? It's a skill that I can use for all kinds of things. It's sewing related, right? And there's fewer and fewer people getting a job because of their college degree. Oh, that's what it is, Mafio. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it was. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, everyone, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Yeah, and I was like, you could live here, but like our living situation isn't like, it's not ideal for her. It really isn't. Like, we have this little cottage, which sounds really nice, and it is a really cute cottage, but it's really not a place you want to live in full time. And so that means she'd move into our house because we only have a 2-bedroom house. And she could, but it would, you know, as a young person, it would really, it would, and we only have 1 bathroom up there. So we'd all be sharing a bathroom. You know, she needs her privacy too. So it's an option for her. It's doable. It's not the end of the world. It's totally a great situation on one level, and it would be like she could save. But at the same time, like, you know, mentally, she would really like to be out with younger people, not living in the sticks somewhere with her parents. Yeah. Right, Patrick? Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't even, I actually know somebody, this is crazy. I know someone who has 3 full-time jobs and none of their employers know it. She's like, I'm $90,000 in debt. I do this, you know, she can do the job really well. She knows that she has to like keep the level of her work. She needs to do her job really well, but she can't do it too well so that they think that they have to give her more. So that, she's doing the job she's hired for. She got really good reviews of her last 2 jobs. She just took the 3rd job on. And I'm so fascinated by this. It's not even illegal. And the fact that they don't do like background checks on their employees to find this out, because that would come up right away in your credit report that you were employed. 3 people. I thought this was so fascinating. There's, I guess, Reddit's devoted to this. Like things that will make your mouse look like it's moving on your computer that you're not sitting at because you're working at the other job. So she's still getting the job done. She's still getting her job done. Oh, yeah, Kelly. Yeah. Yeah, Nancy, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, right, Michelle? I mean, that when you're talking about pattern companies, that's true because I have to admit, like when I first started my channel, I did it on the side, right? Because I did have a factory and I was manufacturing a line and we were pretty busy and I didn't know how I was going to stream, but I just wanted to hang out with other sews and help people. And I originally thought I'll probably be able to help other people have like a small line that they're trying to manufacture. Because I was very non-competitive. Like I didn't mind, like obviously I didn't mind helping Karen Templer out. I didn't end up helping her, but I was willing to. It didn't, kind of, like it wasn't going to work for us. But I encouraged 3 other competitors to get industrial sewing machines. Like I was very much like non-competitive. So I was kind of hoping when I started my channel I could help people like that. And just sew with people. And when I went to start sewing clothes, I wanted to start sewing clothes. I didn't own any home sewing patterns, but like 2. And so, because I was just planning on just using patterns I drafted. And then I realized that wasn't very approachable for people. Oh, interesting, Kelly, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. $20 an hour is not very much. You can't buy a house on that, you know? It's great it would be great for my daughter. And it depends on where you live. You know, we live in California. So it's, and she doesn't live in this state. It's not cheaper where she lives though. This would be such a good Zoom so I could hear all y'all talking. I love this kind of talk about this kind of stuff. It's really interesting to me. Yeah, right, Michelle. Yeah, I think that does give me more on that if you are interested in that. I've actually been talking about it with a lot of the guild folks, and I've been thinking about just doing more drafting in general. And I probably will launch a course on drafting blocks, or I'm thinking about offering it as a service to draft people custom blocks. But I'd really like to have some supportive videos in place so that once you have your block, you know what you can do with it, right? And you can draft your own patterns. Do you have any tips for design when you get a mental creativity block? Ooh. I feel like anything I'm going to say, Patrick, is just so like, you know, obviously, you know, and really love what I do. I was been watching this video with an interview of Mr. Beast. And he's like one of the biggest YouTubers, right? Some of you have probably heard of him. And I don't want to be Mr. Beast, obviously. But his work, the way he works and the way he thinks I'm so similar. I'm obsessed with my work. I love my work. I'm obsessed with it. I think about it 24 hours a day. It's amazing I have family members. Like that's how, if I didn't have family members, I'd convert my whole house into my studio. Like I'm obsessed with it 24/7. Think about it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? So it's really nice hearing him talk about it because he thinks that way too. But there are times where I get a little bit, I wouldn't call it burnt out, but I feel a little bit like, like Michelle said, everything's been done. There's nothing new. I don't like any of my fabrics. Nothing's inspiring me. And I obviously don't design clothing. I usually sew the pattern out of the envelope using fabric, right? And that's not how I did before my channel. I always was like, I would see some like detail on a bag and be like, that pocket's kind of cool. I wonder if I could add it to a coat. And then that would kind of spin off into making the coat, right? You got that little like nugget of inspiration that kind of keeps you going. And sometimes it's that I'm very process driven rather than product driven. And I'm really interested in knowing, can I do that? Is it possible? That for me is at the heart of a lot of the things that really drive me inspirationally is if it's possible. I'm really experimental. I like that kind of thing. I don't do high fashion stuff. I don't do couture. I'm not against it or anything. It's just not like, it's just a whole other genre of stuff, right? So if I were interested in that, I'd probably be experimenting in that. So when I get that way, it usually just takes me doing something completely different. And whether it's something I've never done before, something I'm not good at, sometimes it's a palette cleanser, something I've sewn a lot, or watch a movie or something like that. But I don't live in a city. Can't just hop on the subway and look at the environment around me and go to the museum. Like that's what you hear people say. I don't have that. So I typically will just noodle on things that have stumped me, and that's kind of how I get unstuck sometimes. I'm just reading chat. So I don't know if that helps, Patrick, but I wish you luck in that, and it'll come back. It really will come back, and it'll probably come back so much that you're going to have to try and keep up with it. There's nothing wrong. I've been doing this for a long time. We were just talking about something like this in the guild because people were posting how many projects they needed. They wanted some accountability to themselves to kind of like get through a few projects they had stacked up. I thought about it, and I realized it's not something that stresses me out anymore because I have bins right here. I don't know if you can see them, but let's see if I can show you. Oh, that just looks like a hot mess. It's hard to tell what you're looking at. This is a table surface right here, and underneath it, these are rows of bins. These green things are bins. Sometimes all I get frustrated about is when I run out of a bin. When I run out of bins. Then I'm like, okay, I got to finish some of these things. It all gets done. We can't easily make our own fabric and thread. There are more domestically made fabrics becoming available. That is the one thing I think Spoonflower could do, is if they could partner up. There's a company in Washington State that sells cotton in every color you can imagine that is grown, milled, and woven in the United States. And I think Spoonflower should buy it and print on it. Yeah, exactly, Patrick. I think that kind of thing, Patrick, is I feel like I can relate to that. What, like the last part of your sentence there. It's just thinking about what to put out next. You know what? Like, I think about that constantly because I have so many ideas and so many things I could do. And it's one of those things like, am I looking for something to engage people so that my channel does well? Am I looking at something to help people? Can both those things go together? Am I looking at something that I want to do and I just shouldn't worry about those things, because if I have joy from this, maybe that will inspire other people, or at least let them see something maybe they haven't seen before because it's something I'm interested in. I think at the end of the day, my biggest thing with this is you have to do something that you are in line with, you're mentally in line with, because like when I had my business where we made this line of accessories and we had to cut and sew them, we were production sewers. We were literally production sewers, plus designing a line, plus meeting the vendors. And people looked at us and were like, wow, it must be nice to be surrounded by fabric all day. We heard that exact sentence word for word so many times. And me and my assistant would look at each other and be like, yeah, sure. Because it's so easy to see that on the surface, right? And so sometimes, very, very often actually, monthly, I would get like, oh gosh, we're doing the same old thing, same products over and over. Aren't people getting tired of this? No, they weren't getting tired of it. I was getting tired of it. And so then I needed to like do something to spice it up. Was it a different fabric? Was it a limited edition project? Was it a collaboration? Sometimes it would just be talking with my assistant and she'd be like, you know, don't forget that one little idea you had, or what about that design you've been working on for like the last 2 years? And you know, I saw someone comment about that needle case that they really want, you know, and that kind of thing. I would drive myself crazy trying to please other people with that business. And then I would kind of start spinning out, you know, like everything. It's almost like, I think of it as like you have a cup of honey, right? And then the honey overflows the cup. It's kind of this nice, slow, thick, sticky, yummy stuff, right? It's just there. But when you start trying to please everybody, you add water to that honey and it gets thin and runny and it starts running everywhere. It's such a weird analogy, but that's kind of how I think of it. And I would have to be like, no, come back, honey, get rid of the water. I need you to be more your true honey self. So weird. But this is kind of how I think of it. I don't think of it as honey, but I just think of it as this like true thing. Stop diluting it. And stop trying to please other things. What do you like to do, Saremy? What do you like to do? Can you stand behind 100%? And that would always be the thing that would bring me back and center me. Because, you know, when you're getting 300 orders and you're making hundreds of things every week, it's really easy to just be caught up in that and feel like things are out of your control or boring, right? So, yeah. Just, you know, thinking about what to put out next, that is a big sentence. Just make sure you're behind it 100%. It's okay if you have to educate people on why they should like it. Because usually the good things, that's kind of how it works. If it's too complicated, yeah, you're gonna have to dial it back, right? But and because I'm an over engineer, I get too clever. It's my downfall. It's not a good thing, right? I could make bags and they would be like perfectly functional, but they would look funny, right? So you can't do that. You have to make something that's kind of middle of the road. Yeah, right, Jan? I know. My excitement telegraphs into everything. I'm a pretty excited person. I'm definitely a cheerleader type. I was never a cheerleader, but I'm definitely that type. It's hard for me to relate to someone who doesn't feel that way, and so it's something I work on. The Helen Joseph Martin. Oh, yeah, that's a great book. That's my book. I have that book. Heidi, yes. That is it. Is this something I would really love to buy? And I asked myself this. It's funny because I told you I was listening to this Mr. Beast interview. It's like 2 hours long. I'm not done with it. And that's something he asked. He wants to make the best possible video. He doesn't care about views or subscribers, right? He wants the best possible video. And I was thinking about that, like, do I want the best possible video? I do, but at the same time, it's different. I'm not entertaining, I'm educating, right? And so I ask myself that all the time. Would I watch this and would I find it interesting? Do I think the editing on my videos could be better? 100,000,000%. I am one person. That's not what I do well, right? I do my best, and sometimes it's okay. And that's getting better. But I learn a lot from it too. So you way over engineer patterns and put them together in my head, creating the instructions, explaining how my process works. Are you drafting patterns for sale? Because yeah, that is really tough. Here's a sewing, making tons of things that I never wear. I've decided the only thing I'm going to make is jeans, t-shirts, and coats. Nice. Nancy has found her sweet spot. That's awesome, Kelly. I like that. Yeah, I think like the list of things that I want to make is so specific to me. I don't think they'd be interesting. And so I don't sew them. I will eventually. They'll show up on like a week, like we're having this month, later this month, the Anything Goes week. Those streams do well, funnily, and I can get like scratch and itch. These are for sale patterns, yeah. By Kim and Kim. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I refuse to over-edit my videos because you know what? The difference for me, what I want my videos to be, is I want you to know why this works. Just telling you what to do, it's like telling you to make something you don't know what you're about to make. Like, here are these pattern pieces. Now I'm going to tell you what to do with them. And you're like, okay, I don't know where we're going here. No. I want you to know exactly what we're looking for, what we want, what we don't want, and why. And that is the difference. And that's how I want to set myself apart. Because if I don't know the content inside and out, sideways, upside down, you shouldn't use me as your source. And so many people on YouTube are making DIY. They do not know what they're doing inside out, sideways, the whole shebang. And that's how some of these, like how you can get so far in your sewing and just be like, well, I do this, but I don't really know how it works, why it works, and sometimes why it doesn't work. Because they don't know either. Oh, they are? Jan, you make a lot of videos? Interesting. Yeah, right, Heidi? As painful as that is for me, it is good. It's good to see when not to be too clever. And we definitely saw that with that one. Well, that's great, Kelly. I like to hear that. Yeah, I have visions, you know. It's funny because I've been talking to Jen Stern, J Stern Designs on YouTube. So I finally have like a YouTube friend because it's different. Like I could sit here and talk about this 24/7, but no one wants to talk about this with me. She does. She's awesome. It's great, and I really like it because she and I texted her this morning and I was like, I finally figured out how to do this one thing, and I'm trying this out. Have you ever done this before? And she's like, I'm thinking about doing that too. You know, and I love that. I love that I can bounce things off. Oh, you do music videos. Oh, interesting. Your whole issue with this top and center around thing. Every video just talks about the theory and why it works. Just show me how to do it, for heaven's sakes. Okay, I'm starting to feel the same way, Jan. I have never tried the top-down, center-out method. I'm really thankful that there's YouTubers doing it now. But I've watched a couple of them, and I'm like, you know what? I think we really... Kelly, no! Oh, my God, Kelly. Thank you. You don't have to do that. My gosh, Patrick, you're in my guild, right? I just remembered that. The fact that you recommended Closet Historian, that reminded me of that. Kelly, thank you. That's really nice of you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I actually am more tempted now to do a review of the top-down, center-out method now that I'm seeing like, all right, I really need this to be in one video. Like I like seeing the process. Like I'm enjoying Jay Stern's version of it, but I'm ready to see the finale. You know what I mean? Like of the method somewhere. I really want to know. So easier to, I know. Wait, I started pattern drafting class at my local chasing of everything because my instructor could never answer the why. Like, why are corner seam lines standard for necklines? Yeah. Yeah, they don't know why sometimes. But some of them can make a really good video and they're younger and cuter. And so that's my competition. But who would you rather learn sewing from? Sewing with Nancy or a blogger that's in their teens, right? I think like that's the thing is like when you are looking to get skills from somebody, you look to the people who've been doing it a long time. I do. I look to those people. I look to those sources. I really appreciate them. I look to people who haven't been doing it for very long to see how they're talking about it, what issues they're grappling with, and what is appealing for how they do it to their audience. I want to know. I live in California. Yeah. Why, Michelle? Oh my gosh, don't feel bad. I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. I'm here building a community. That's my #1 goal. I love it. You know, Michelle, you're in the guild, right? It's free to join. It's really nice. If you want to talk sewing, post pictures. It's really great. It's not like other places. It's different. I always say that, but it's really true. It's just one of those things you have to remember to check in. And for some people, it's really easy. They're always there. I can see who's online and who's not. And for me, I just have the app, right? It reminds me. I agree, Yolanda. And you know, that's the thing is like, when I look at the success of certain people and why they got successful, some of them, it's because they were beginners. Beginners are really valuable because they're going through things that you're going through, and seeing them figure it out is really helpful. And I don't have that to offer. Oh, they can be, Patrick, but there's a lot of reasonings for that. So how do I keep that concise? So usually, like if you had a garment and you took your garment to the factory to be produced, that factory would probably say, these are the seam allowances we want on these areas. For the collar, we want a 1/4 inch, and the neckline, we want a 1/4 inch, the sleeve, we want a half inch, whatever. We want 3/8 if you're going to serge it, but we want a 1/2 inch if we're not. You know what I mean? Like they have their things, and that's so that they don't have to train all their sewists on their floor how to sew your patterns. And so you could send your pattern to them and your sample, they look at it, and then they'll be like, all right, but this is what we need. Or what they do, they take your pattern and they draft it again, and they put what they want on there, the markings they like, and it's just part of their package. Because I've seen that many times. And then there's other things when you get into budget manufacturing. Seam allowances will play a role in reducing the cost because of the fabric pieces. You might think the difference between a 3/8 inch seam and a 1/2 inch seam isn't a big deal, but it is, because when you're fitting the pattern pieces on the fabric, because they do it on the computer digitally and then they lay it all out onto the fabric, that 1/8 of an inch across a lot of different pieces makes up a couple inches going across the width of the fabric sometimes, and then you can get more pieces to fit and stay on grain. So it depends, but here's the caveat. If it's really hard to keep track of your seam allowances in a budget factory, then they would want it to be more standardized. What they want is it to be easy and fast to sew with as few notches as possible. The least amount of work. Everything is work. Every notch you add is work for the cutting department, but every notch you add helps the sewist. So you have to make these choices. Who is wanting the notch more or less? Who you have to please. And so that is always, it's a lot of different steps. Like when in the design room, when we get the design, the pattern drafter, even though I was a designer and pattern drafter, I didn't dictate the whole design. The marketing department has a big part in that. You may get your design shot down because marketing's like, I can't sell that. And you're like, but I know people need this. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I can't sell that story. And so you're always butting up against the marketing department. And then the marketing department and the design also have to be beholden to the CEO, because the CEO or the owner is usually there and still has their hands, their grubby little hands in everything you do. It's really annoying. And even if it doesn't matter how big it gets, they still think they know better, even if the business is kind of like, you know, and they do on the most part, right? But at the same time, sometimes they kind of meddle with things they shouldn't, right? So as a designer, you're always, it's really that you become a designer in that you guide those folks, those people who drive the design process. You guide them with your knowledge on, yeah, but that's not possible. Oh, we don't have the machinery to make that kind of thing. We don't have a fabric sourced for that. And so as a role, as your designer, your role as a designer becomes more about guiding the people to design a garment you can execute. Would I be willing to do a deep dive into my industry? I could. I don't know what I would talk about. I feel like my industry experience is a little dated, to be honest. I think like people that are in the garment industry right now, it's a completely different ballgame because they most likely manufacture everything outside the country. And I was really fortunate. Everywhere but one of the places I worked had a factory on site, which was really special. And the one place I worked where we didn't have a factory on site, I worked, so there was me and I had a design, like a team. So I was the like head technical engineer, right? And so that was like the pattern drafting name they gave it. Because I see these terms like so-and-so is a technical designer. A technical designer where I worked was someone who filled out spec sheets. So they helped me keep all my spec sheets really consistent, and they double checked my work, and they did things like that, and they interacted with the factory, because the factory would be like, we needed the measurements we need on the spec sheet, we need a page for logo placement, we need a page for the screen printing, ink colors, we need a page on seam allowances, the cut pieces, the findings, the notions. You know, I had like really big spec sheet packages for some things, right? But there was also a one person who dealt with all the stuff made overseas. So I had a whole crew of people working with me there for all of the things manufactured in the United States, but I didn't get to go to the factories. That was that place. And they were all junior developers or technical designers. I hear that term now. But they didn't do pattern drafting or any of that. I would do a Q&A maybe. You could get asked questions and I can answer them. But like I said, I feel like my experience is kind of dated. I don't know if that's helpful. I feel like I've been rambling way too long now. It'd be fun to talk to someone currently. I did talk to a pattern drafter recently. I found her on Instagram, and she drafts patterns for manufacturers or designers, and she also drafts patterns for a few indie pattern companies you have heard of and have sewn patterns of. And it was really interesting talking to her, because I was thinking like, oh, I could learn what the industry's like right now. Like, what's it like? And you know what? I have to say, she was doing it exactly how I was doing it. She's doing it now how I did it then. So it wasn't that much different. Oh, the costume industry. How fun. Yeah, 1/4 inch neckline seams are good for necklines because you can stay accurate when you sew them. It's really hard to stay accurate when your seam allowance is bigger than that for those tight spaces. The first thing I say in my video on how to sew a collar and collar stand is cut off all the seam allowance except for 1/4 inch. Welcome back, Michelle. I'm gonna head out. Oh, creative cost. There you go. There you go. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna be sewing tomorrow. We can talk more about this tomorrow if you want. But yeah, I'm gonna be sewing this tomorrow. This is what we're making. Let's see. Where's my little pattern thing? Making the V-neck coat by Assembly Line Patterns. And like I said at the beginning, if you're interested in pant closures, zipper fly, button fly, and lapped zipper, I just launched a skill building session. And let's see if ooh, it's still there. You can go to So Guild. It will be available on my website as a standalone thing, so you don't have to join the guild really soon. So, and thanks, Kelly. Thanks again. That was really nice of you to donate. I really appreciate it. It'll definitely go towards the stream. So, isn't it also smaller because it's a curve? Yeah, 1/4 inch seams. Any of those sleeveless, this is 1/4 inch seams are always on sleeveless openings and anything with a facing or a collar, neckband, necklines, cuffs, plackets, 1/4 inch seams. Some cuffs to shirts will have a full seam allowance. That's very dependent upon the factory and what you like. So, but yeah, 1/4 inch seams are very standard on sleeveless, facings, collar, anything on the neckline. So, yeah. Oh, nice, Michelle. Cool. Enjoy. All right. Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about this stuff too. Yes, it's amazing, isn't it, Libby? It's incredible. Thank goodness, right? All right, you guys. I will see you tomorrow. We'll be sewing this. It'll be fun. I'll be sitting down too, so you don't have to see. Hopefully I didn't flash you. I just realized I was like, oh man. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Wait, where's my thingy? Oh, there it is. Okay, bye.